Put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Day 5. Day 5. Put them in the chat. Got a very special guest tonight. Day number 5. Put them in the chat. Peace. Okay, I'll check after this. Put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Who gonna be the first one? Put them in the chat. Ain't nobody put it. There we go. I love myself. Let's get it. So we have a very special guest tonight. Who's been here for the last 5 days? Tonight we got a very, very special guest. My company actually partnered with his company because he was such an expert in his field. This is the funding guy, if you ask me. So if you've been here the last few days, you should already know how to fix your credit, how to make some money while fixing your credit, how to make your money actually your credit is fixed. Now you're going to learn how to get funding so you can fund everything else you want to have going on. All right? So let me see if my guy's in here yet. Ashton, you in here? Let's see if he's in here. Y'all drop the I love myself in the chat if y'all ready for this. Everybody drop the I love myself in the chat for day 5.
What's happening, brother? How
Peace,
you
bro.
feeling?
Peace. How you feeling, man?
Man, living the dream. Couldn't be happier, man. How are you? What's
Man,
the
I'm
word
well,
on?
bro. I'm well. Ashton, the floor is yours, bro.
All right. Well, just wanted to make sure we got a chance to catch up, talk, and really get into the details on the funding process, because one of the biggest problems I see in our industry is that there's so many people giving out like false information. So by the time they get to me, they're already, walking around with all these TikTok beliefs that aren't true, and they find themselves in situations that, are kind of opposite of where they want to be. And with funding, there's a vast world of how you can go in terms of funding, and a lot of that depends upon your goals and what the situation is that you have set up. So before I get into the funding piece of, kind of how things work, the main thing here is making sure that you understand for yourself where you are at in terms of the credit and in terms of your income. Because some people, when they go to the funding process, they think, oh, because I have the 750 credit score, that means I can get as much money as I want. And when they get into the process, they start realizing it doesn't necessarily work that simple. So when we're going through this process, I really want you to all pay attention to the setup of how we get that funding, and then understanding where you need to be. Because when you do this, this is a really important move. And there's no purpose of you, going through all these classes and things to clean your credit if you're not, using it to actually make money. So if you have a business, does anybody have a business in the chat? If you have a business, please put an I in the chat, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So if you have a business, to say, hey, that way we all know where you're at. Because when it comes down to this process, if you're doing business funding, there's a whole, a whole different plan of action than there is for personal funding. So if you're just trying to get, money to pay your rent by the first, there's a move for that. But if you're looking to get funding for, a big project you got to do, there's, different moves for that. And just to kind of give you, some background on kind of where I'm coming from. My name is Ashton Sanders. I've been doing funding for years. We've helped a lot of people raise millions of dollars. We don't just do like the small deals where you're getting, 50, 100, 200,000, but we've also done like multi-million dollar deals with and without real estate involved. We've done funding for like schools, nonprofits. We've gotten funding for, development projects. So we've seen what it takes to do the big, like larger deals, even working with like private equity funds and family offices, as well as dealing with like smaller levels. Hey, I just need to get a credit card for today to start building credit. So when I'm giving you this information, it's not coming from a place of someone's video I saw on the internet. There's no other guru that taught me any of this stuff. This is from a day-to-day application of sending, let's say, 1,000 people to one lender and seeing how that lender thinks. And that process can't be, faked, because now you get to understand how lenders operate based off income, the credit, obviously, race, and everything that comes with that. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give you some backstory. Our company is called the Emerson Company, which we'll talk more about that later. But we help in terms of the funding, and we're partnered with the great Bureau Bullies so that we can get things to the next level. And shout out to him before we get too far into it as well. Y'all really don't understand that Umar is that guy. Okay, he knows like I don't really have much confidence in any of the gurus that people look up to in this industry. I've met a lot of them, and not to say that they're all lying and like that, but just some people don't know how to do everything that they say. And they kind of hide behind the course because they don't want to be responsible for your results. Versus with him, he can do it physically, making sure you get that result, but also teach it. And I just want to say a shout out to him for, you, man, for making these things happen, because
Like
they
now
don't
I got to
really
return
know.
that right back at you, Ash. I don't rock with everybody. But y'all see, I've never brought anybody on here to talk to y'all about funding. This is Ashton's barely on social media like that. So that should tell you everything you need to know. He's not on here selling courses. This is the funding guy. This is why for funding for people in my community, I partner with Ashton. Anybody who needs funding, I send them to Ashton. So if y'all need funding, I'm actually vouching for Ashton. He's gonna show y'all things on the back end nobody else is talking about. I mean, come on, this dude, let me shut up. It's all yours, Ashton. Let me shut up because I might do you a
No,
disservice.
I appreciate it, man. Well, let's start from the top. So when you're looking at where you're at, regardless of where you are, you want to have the pillars of funding. So let's just say we have a certain set of pillars that you want to bring to the table. Now, you want to have your credit right. But what does that mean to have your credit right? So if you're looking to get revolving credit, meaning business credit cards, business lines of credit, um, any type of personal credit cards or personal line of credit, your revolving credit in terms of your credit cards and your lines of credit on your credit report need to look good, right? So here's what happens. If you're looking for, let's say, like a personal loan, right? Let's just start personal credit cards, personal loans. Let's start personal first. So with the personal loans, a lot of times the temptation is, hey, I want to go to my credit union to get X amount of dollars, or I want to go to this bank, this lender to get, a loan. But you got to understand, if you get that loan, does the project that you're using make enough money to pay it back, right? So there's no purpose in getting money if you're going to end up being in a worse situation than you were before. So when you're looking at funding, always imagine, if you're getting even just personal, personal funding, you got to understand that what you're looking for in that process, it has to be something that is going to make sense for you financially. Because if we get a because we get people, 50, 100, $200,000 in a personal loan. If you do that, can you afford to make that monthly payment? Realistically, because the better the lenders that will bring you to, it's more of a process on the credit repair side. Okay. And not to say you can't be done. Obviously, you got Umar, he knows how to do everything in terms of credit repair. But the point is, why even have to go through that? So if you're looking to get a personal loan, most people always associate the personal loan as the best move because you're getting hard cash. The issue comes back to, you take one, two personal loans, as soon as you try to do any other funding outside of that, once those loans report, it makes it extremely difficult to get more funding until you make like 6 months to a year's worth of payments. Okay, so especially if you're getting anything like large in terms of funding. So if you take a personal loan, ideally you really just want to stick to like one, but that one has to take care of really only being used for paying off like credit cards, stuff like that. Because at least if you pay down your cards, now your utilization goes down on the credit side and everything moves to that loan deal. Okay. But if you're going through this process of trying to get funding, you want to have a business if you don't already. Because ideally, once you get the personal loan, because let's say if you're like in the 680, 670 range, you can go to lenders like, well, depending upon how much money you make too. If you're on the side where you feel like you make 50K a year, you're looking more at a one main situation. But if you're in, especially if you're in that 670, 680 score range, okay? Now, one main problem with them is that they only can give you about 20K, okay, on a personal loan. A lot of times they want to use a car as collateral, meaning if you don't pay them, they're going to take your car, right? So in that situation, if you can get the 20K, you can use that to pay down your credit card debt, right? But if you have more credit card debt than that, then I would suggest you to go to maybe more like an Achieve financial. Achieve is really good in terms of like paying off credit card debt. The only problem with them is that they will give you like 85% of the money can be used on debt on a credit card. But if it's a loan that you want to pay off, they have to pay the whole amount. Meaning that, let's say if you got a $50,000 approval from them, which is pretty regular, by the way, then in that situation, you would want to decide, okay, they're only going to give me 15% of this in cash, okay? The rest has to go to credit card debt and or loan. So will that work for you? Yes or no? Make those choices. Now, the thing with One Main and with Achieve, they both look at experience. Okay, so if you're looking at applying to them, they're good to go through the process of, applying. However, if you have a bunch of inquiries on your credit score for Experian, always make sure you get that cleaned up first. Don't come into trying to get funding and you got a bunch of inquiries on your credit. I know, you went to the dealership and they ran up your credit and they said it wasn't going to hurt you, but it still hurts you, okay? Just get rid of it as quickly as possible, all right? You can call the bureaus to do that. Obviously, Umar can coach you through that whole process. But the point is that when you're dealing with this, getting that personal loan can get you in position to pay the credit cards off. Now, once you've done that and you have a business, especially if that business is older, preferably 2 years, you can do it with new businesses too, but it's better if it's older. Then you take that business and get as many business credit cards that have 0% interest. Those business credit cards can then pay, you can liquidate those, right? And pay off your personal loan. So now all debt is on the business, okay? This process you can do in Recycle, because I have a scenario where I had a client, he had an 849 credit score, the highest I ever seen amongst anybody in my entire career. And how he set up his credit is that he kept paying for like mortgage loans and personal loans early. So instead of taking out a 30-year loan, he would take out a 15-year loan, or he would just pay it off in 15 years, even if it wasn't 30. So when you do that and you pay these loans off early, it makes you look extremely good from a lending perspective, okay? So when you do that, now you're putting yourself in the best situation to maneuver and do what you need to do, okay? But when you're going through your process of doing funding, it's key to, again, go back to understanding, how you're going to structure this long term. So that's why I said as much personal debt that you take out, you want to then go back and get business credit cards business lines of credit, which we'll talk about, to offset that, so that way you can pay off some of that personal, and now your personal is clear. Because some people, come to us like, oh, I don't want to touch my personal. It's not only going to act like it's not even there, but you still can leverage both sides, because some of you may not make enough money to get a lot of business funding. You know what I mean? Maybe your business is not established enough for that. And a lot of people are talking about you can go to Chase and get all this money from Chase, but you got to build a relationship with lenders, and so that's why all this stuff is important. So going back to the personal loan side, you can take out an Achieve loan, but the best loan, what I would say to get, and it's BHG, it's Bankers Health Group. They are by far, to me, the best lender in the game, because they won't report on your personal at all. They give you 10-year terms. Interest rates can be like 16 to 19%, which is, some people may feel that's high, but considering the fact that when you're going through that funding process, they're not reporting anything. And they can give you they go up to like $500K on their loans, okay? Even for sole proprietors. All right, so very key. And they normally don't care as much about your credit being phenomenal. Like, they want you to be ideally like most lenders in that 650 or 680 range or higher, preferably. But if you're in the medical industry in any way, shape, or form, whether you're doctor, nurse, whatever, that's the place I would go to for that. You can still get in without being in the medical field too, but it's easier to get further if you are in that space. Just a tidbit there. Now, when it comes down to your process of getting the funding, stack up that personal loan, use that to pay off your credit cards that have high utilization. Now, when you get that first loan and it takes care of those credit cards, now, like I said, you can get the business credit cards, but you can also do other, personal funding. Now, some of you may not have a business that's that old, so it may be harder for you to get like large business credit cards. Okay. So in that situation, you'd want to go ahead and stack up the personal credit cards that you can get. Use one of those to actually buy an age corporation. So that way you at least have some history. Okay. Now, when you get those personal credit cards, it's key that you fund in a certain way. So what does that mean? We help people get funding, and we can go through this whole process and do it for you. But just as a index of information, what people aren't telling you is when you do these applications for credit cards, when you're going to credit unions, everybody's talking about, oh, they only pull Experian, or they only pull TransUnion, but they can see everything on check systems, okay? Because a lot of these lenders use check systems as their frame of reference. So even if you only applied and they pulled Experian primarily, they're still looking at everywhere you applied. Okay, so we've had a scenario where we've had people get denied with 780 credit scores for a $5,000 credit card, and we're like, what in the world? How is this possible? But the check systems is just as important as your actual 3-bureau credit report. Don't take it for granted. LexisNexis as well, because a lot of them use both. Sometimes they use Clarity Services, other things like that. Yes, you can suppress some of those, but when you're going through funding, the problem is that a lot of them, if they can't pull it, they'll just tell you no anyway. It'll give you some bogus answer. Okay, so when you're doing credit card applications, one of the key things you have to factor in is not just how many inquiries you have on Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, but also pull your check systems report. Set up an account with them today. It's free, and pull your report. If you see accounts on there that are not supposed to be there, if you see inquiries that you don't want to be shown, you need to dispute it. They can dispute online with them. You can also dispute over the phone when you reach out. So that's what I would recommend, because when you're doing these apps, if you do too many inquiries, especially with credit unions and banks, it could be an issue because a lot of them look at that. All right. So how I would go about it, let's say if you have a blank, clear slate, no inquiries, nowhere on Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, and check systems, then you can set it up so you can go through Experian first, work your way through the other bureaus. But when you're looking at a strong file in terms of how to stack these up, you want to get credit cards that are not just good for the immediate situation, but set you up for future situations, right? So what does that look like? When you get a credit card from, let's say, like Service Credit Union, that's like one of my, or was one of my favorite credit unions. They've been giving people issues lately, but Service Credit Union is one of the credit unions that a lot of people don't talk about for whatever reason, but they do service people in all 50 states. And you can be, I'm talking about like not even that strong in terms of your file. Like you can have like a few accounts on your credit report and still get into service. But when you do these applications for credit cards, it's more important to get a membership and get in the door, because a lot of them will approve you for the credit card or the personal line of credit, but deny you for the membership because of some issue with check systems. So you should reverse your process, because it's kind of like if you're with somebody and you don't want to go straight to the end. You know what I mean? You want to build a relationship and get through that process. But these banks and credit unions apply for memberships on a regular basis. You'd want to have, sorry, I got these dogs barking over here, but you'd want to have anywhere between like 20 to 30 different credit unions that you're working with at a random time, so that way you're able to get the best possible results. And then when you do that, you'll start to see the progress that you have in terms of getting people, getting the maximum amount of funding you want. So it may sound crazy, like to apply for 20 different credit unions or 30 different credit unions. Yes, I have a wallet full of cards all day for not just credit cards, but also for debit cards. I set up savings accounts, I set up checking accounts, and multiple credit unions, because you need to get into the door. You can't get so caught up in, oh, I got approved for a credit card, or oh, I got denied for a credit card at a certain place. You want to go ahead and jump in, so that way when you have those relationships, you're already in the door. So they may say no today, but yes tomorrow, right? So, and what it's because some people, when it comes to the funding world, they look at having like, oh, I got this person at the bank and they can do this. But if you already got a membership, that's the best thing you could have. You know what I mean? Because you're already in that door. Versus like, oh, said person says they got this person, that person, that person. Yes, that can help too. But if you already got the relationship, you can just move up the ladder. So I recommend to try to get as many as possible. Me personally, I'm trying to break like the world record for having the most banks and credit union memberships of all time. Okay. Now, the one thing about that is that when you apply for those, that does go on your check systems report. So that's why it's important to remove inquiries even on check systems, as well as LexisNexis. So that way you're able to maneuver. But as you keep going through this process, you can stack up so many. So now when it's time for you to go through the funding process that we take a lot of our clients through, you're able to get match dollars and not have an issue when it comes down to getting that large amount, because they're not going to deny you because you're already verified. The problem a lot of times with lending, if you're not verified, if you're just some random person applying, they don't want to lend you set amount of dollars because you are already in a situation where you like they don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? But if you come in like, hey, let me get that membership with you, let me establish some things, build my relationship a little bit better. Now you know somebody at the bank yourself. Now you have that type of pull. Like you should have a ton of relationships, because this business game and funding is all about how many relationships you have. So this is just kind of like I guess like the beginning part of getting into the funding world. But I just wanted to kind of share that with you because so many people miss the boat on that. Now, the other piece of this that you have to factor in is your income. So, and versus your debt to income. So let's say if you're somebody, you calculate all your monthly payments and you're paying $4K a month in payments, right? But you pay rent. when you do your applications for funding, then one of the things that you have to consider is if I only make $7,000 a month, but I'm paying $4,000 a month, and then I do my application for credit cards, and then I put that my rent is 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now the lenders feel like they can't. They're already on. How are you going to pay us? What if something goes wrong, right? Can you handle paying us when the worst case scenario happens to you, right? So that's why I said you have to be careful about that. So your income definitely matters. So that's why if you're getting a personal loan and you do not make a lot of money, then you have to make sure your credit card usage is like paid down. So use that to pay that down. But if you don't have a credit card usage problem, I don't recommend getting a personal loan at all, because when you get that loan, as soon as you show that you have this higher monthly payment, so let's say you're paying $1,000 a month, well, now you're out the game on funding because you don't actually make enough to support another loan, right? Or even a credit card payment, okay? So, because remember, they're looking at even if you matched your card out, what that monthly payment would be, can you afford that too? With this personal loan on there. So all of that is a factor. Let me know if I'm doing too much, Umar. I can go for hours on this, so I don't want to overwhelm.
No, bro, no, bro. Number one, you drop gems. Let's just make that clear. But number two, bro, you need people were asking in the comments with your Instagram, so you need to tell people how they can reach out to you to see if they qualify, so they can talk to you. You know, you also take clients on for credit as well to help them get ready for funding. So talk about that as well.
Yeah. So when we go through our process, we do help you when it comes to like cleaning the credit, getting all the negative stuff off. It's a little bit more of like a higher end thing because we don't just do the main three bureaus. We also do like the alternatives like Check Systems, LexisNexis, and so forth. So there's about 30 other bureaus outside of the main three, which I'm sure you all are familiar as you've been listening to Umar talk forever. So all that's important, and we work to get a lot of that cleaned up. So in terms of that process, you can definitely message me. My Instagram is I am Ashton W Sanders. So just at I am Ashton W Sanders, and then definitely send me a message on there, and then we can proceed from there. But yeah, so that's just something that when it comes down to this funding, make sure you got your stuff together. Oh, also, it's really important to have your taxes done. Okay, stop running away from paying taxes or even having taxes filed. You cannot operate and try to go off of, oh, I'm just going to do no PG funding, or, oh, I'm going to do no doc funding for life. Stop thinking like that, okay? When you want to get the larger numbers so you can actually have money to make moves, you got to be verifiable. Your credit is only one part of the equation. You can get your credit as good as you want to be. If you can't pay the bill, don't matter. I have a scenario where I have a school that has been around for 150 years, making $8 million a year. And they had an issue because the income in terms of what they're expending versus what they are receiving is not lining up. They're overspending. And they've had issues with getting approvals. I had to do a lot of work to make this happen. But I'm just saying, these are things that are very real. Okay, so if you come into this and you don't want to show your taxes, stop operating like that. And what I mean by that is when you do your taxes, make sure you're not showing a loss. Okay, now if you are, you bought your house and you don't care about how much funding you get, you just want to throw your shots in the air, fine, do whatever you want to do. But if you want some real money, you can't show losses on your tax returns. So let's say if you made 100K, but you showed, 140,000 in exemptions just so you can get some fat monthly return. That was a terrible move because now you're costing yourself all this other money because banks look at your tax returns as the ultimate proof of income. And they feel like if you told the IRS this is what you make and they accepted that, then that means that you're probably not lying about what your income is. Okay? So What some people will say, well, oh my God, I'm going to owe all this money to the IRS if I do that. Here's how you maneuver. So IRS gives you time for payment plans. Two, you have 3 years to amend your taxes. Okay, so even if you show your, the losses that you took or some of the losses that you took, you can amend it. You can show more losses. You can not do that. It's up to you. But the point is, when you're doing the funding, you don't want to be taking a loss or showing that you didn't make no money and trying to run away from filing taxes. Run into the bill, run into filing taxes, because you got to think from the top down. Jeff Bezos, all these big players, yeah, they try to maneuver to not pay as much in taxes, right? But they've already made so much money by that point. So they're trying to hide it all, right? They're not in the same situation that maybe you or I are in, okay? So because of that, you got to look at this differently. So file the taxes. We help with taxes as well. We can get you in position on that side too, because we do the taxes. We can help you with the corp side, the lines, the repair, the funding, the whole piece. But the main thing is, whether you're with us or whoever, it doesn't matter. The point is, come with the taxes. Make sure you filed some taxes and did not show that, hey, I only made $3,000. Because I had one client that came to us like, yeah, I got to make $200K a year. I'm about to do this. I want to get all this money. My score is 780. What you want to do? He had an attitude with me like didn't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, bro, you put that you profited $3,000. What the hell? What are we gonna do with that? What are we doing? So how you check that out on your tax return? Typically on the 1040, you'll see a section that says like profit and loss, and it'll show on the right side. I think it's like line 11, I believe. I got to double check. But anyway, the point is, on the right side of it, you'll see this is what the income that you made, and then further down, you'll show how much you actually, kept. So you don't want to take out a bunch of expenses or show, oh, I paid all these expenses, and then now when it comes to funding, you can't do that. This is also important for those who are trying to buy a house. Because you're trying to buy a house, they're going to look at the last 24 months and calculate how much you actually can afford when your bills are paid. Okay? So there's so much, that you want to be aware of, but just make sure you have your taxes done. Stop sending in fake pay stubs. It's a lost cause. And let it go. Just let it go. It's okay. If you really don't have a job, just say you're self-employed. We all can be self-employed. You're never just no job at all. You could just say I got a business. But stop sending in fake pay stubs. Don't do fake bank statements either. That's not working anymore. It's over with. Let it go and let it die. Okay? You are trying to get yourself caught up. You're just making the job harder for us, because now people come to us, oh, I got these pay stubs, so they look crazy. Luckily, we're not on a Zoom call. I can show you how bad people are with these pay stubs. But they're already caught on to all that stuff. And then the worst part is they report you to different places like early warning and other places if you do some nonsense, okay? People are still using CPNs trying to get funding. Let that go too. That's not good for this purpose of funding, okay? It's just not worth it, because they have a thing called, I think it's like syndicated identity theft or something like that. That's what they call CPNs. Let that go too. Get yourself together. Stop looking for the cheap routes and trying to finesse the system because you think, oh, my boy told me you could do this, or this person online said they could do that. They are wasting your time. I can tell you, I do funding every day. This is it. We are sending in applications all the time. When I get done with this call, we're doing more and raising money. That's all I do. So I'm telling you, not from a theory, not from a video. This is from day-to-day, everyday work. So stop doing fake stuff, okay? You want to have more docs. If those of you that actually got an established business and are making money, yes, you want to have your profit and loss statements together. If you don't know what that is, you all need to look that up. Profit and loss statements, your balance sheet. If you already have debt on the business, make sure you have a debt schedule so that way all that's lined up. The more docs you have together, the more lenders feel like, okay, I can trust you to manage this money. You want to be A1 verified. Too many people are trying to grow a business and really they're just growing a hustle. And you got to know the difference between, do I want to be a hustler or I want to run a company and run an enterprise? There's a levels to it, because the person that runs a hustle can have success. That's why you see so many people online. Oh, look at my car, or look at my house, and oh, look at this, because they're glorified hustlers. But when you get into the details of how they actually run business, they don't have a good system in place. Having your documents on point, making sure that you have either the right bookkeeping in place and all that, that's needed. Making sure that if you are using your business bank account and you want to get funding, you're not just using all your personal. You're not going on there showing Chick-fil-A transactions all the time. And, you're at this club here sending thousands of dollars to random people. Again, you want to have everything aligned on the business side. All right. So these banks, personal and on business funding, will use this plaid thing. This plaid thing ended a lot of that nonsense with the fake documents. Okay. And then they have the thing called, I think it's like the work or something like that, they're using to check that people really got a job somewhere. Okay. So if you do not have a job, don't do pay stubs. Stop. Don't even think about it. It's a terrible idea. It's a waste of your time and hours. Just say you're self-employed. Whatever money you make, you want to get a business account, any dollars that come to you for any reason at all, send it over there, okay? Put it in the business bank account. Every dollar y'all make should touch the business first. Then you can move it to personal for what you need to pay or whatever. But it needs to touch that business bank account. Why? Because the more revenue you can show in the business that's coming through, now you can qualify for larger business lines of credit. We specialize in getting business lines of credit. Why? Because it's the best type of funding to get. Because if you take out a personal loan or business loan, you have to make payments back, usually right away. Two, you can't use that money again once they give it to you. Where if you get a business line of credit, you can start making payments, but you can technically take that money right back out and use it again. You see what I'm saying? Or even with business credit cards. So that's why you always want to be aiming for business credit cards, and business lines of credit is the ideal funding. Yeah, and outside of the SBA, that's the better, best business loan type of deal. But outside of that, ideally you want to get more lines of credit and credit cards. So you stack those up. Now, when you have a big project that you want to accomplish, well, you might have 100, 200, 400, 500,000 in business lines of credit. You want to stack them up as much as possible. Okay. Don't have the ego like some of our clients. We have some clients that make millions of dollars. I have clients like in the White House, the Pentagon, and they have this ego like, well, I got all this. I'm like, I don't care how much money you make. It doesn't matter. Stack up your credit in a way where you have a cushion, because you still work there. Just because you got a high profile job, you still got a job. So don't get too gassed. It's like, let's just go ahead and stack you up. So that's why I tell all of our clients, when we go through funding, we try to stack you up as much business lines of credit as possible, because you can still withdraw that money to your bank account, but also you can start making payments, and that those funds can be used again to maneuver. And it keeps you from falling on hard times in the business, because it doesn't matter how good you are at selling your product or service, eventually something will go wrong. So you need to make sure you have that cushion so that you can handle lawsuits, random employees doing stupid stuff that causing a lawsuit, or someone robbing you, or you get divorced, or you get robbed and divorced. This could be a combination of a lot of things. That I've been through some stuff, so I'm just talking from experience. Okay, so I just tell you, this is all key. It's all key, man. It's all key. So anyway, like I said, I don't want to overwhelm y'all too much. If anybody has any questions, that'll be great.
Yo, but if you got any questions for Ashton, put them in the chat. And y'all dropped the I love myself in the chat for Ashton. He just dropped a lot of game on y'all. Y'all make sure y'all tap in with him. Is Instagram the best way to contact you, Ashton? Do you have a business number or something?
Yeah, just contact me on
Okay.
IG. It's easier that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I prefer you to do that, and then we could build from there. and then we'll go ahead and make it happen. Sorry, I didn't even see all these chats, man. I was just talking.
Oh,
My
no, you
apologies to all of you. I didn't.
somebody just said, how do
Okay.
you liquidate credit cards?
All right, great question. See, it's a good question. Okay, so the credit cards, you can add your credit card to Cash App. Go to your profile on the right, add your credit card to Cash App, send it to your friend, partner, whoever, um, and you can send money to them and then tell them to send money back to you. That's how you liquidate the credit card. You can do that all day with them. Sometimes certain banks don't work as well. Like I think Discover sometimes had issues on
Amex.
Cash App.
Amex.
Yeah, Amex,
Probably one of them.
exactly. Them too, right? So sometimes they don't. If they do have that problem, then the next move you got to look at, because certain credit unions will allow you to take money off your card and transfer it to your checking account with that credit union. But some credit cards, like you said, the Amex, it's a different situation. So that's when you can come to whether it be Umar or ourselves, because we have a situation where we can liquidate the credit cards, but when we go through that process, we basically have to like charge you a fee for that whole process. So we could talk more about that. But most importantly, ideally for yourself, what I would do is if you have a friend that has a business, tell them, hey, charge my car for this amount and give them said amount of percentage or whatever it is, because they got to pay taxes on that money. And then you take the rest, because they can just withdraw the money out and give it to you. So that's how you would do that if you have a friend that has a business, and particularly that has a merchant account. Merchant account is like a place where you can process credit cards. Just like you go to like your grocery store and pay for something, a lot of regular people do have merchant accounts. And that's a whole, I don't want to go down the road of merchant accounts, but just to FYI, if you do get your own merchant accounts, don't be trying to get the squares and all these little people when it comes to merchants. You want to get, a lot better situations. There's a lot of different, ones you can work with. Elon Financial has some stuff. There's Clover that you can look into, though. I've had issues with them too, but they're still cool. Stay away from like the Stripes. They can hold your money for random reasons. That's another topic. I don't want to overwhelm you off that either. But the point is, get yourself a merchant account if you don't have one, and you can also work with someone else that has a merchant account and just charge a card that way. Okay. Um, let me see what other questions there are. Uh, it's a lot of people. Oh, the IG handle is at I am like at like I am Ashton W Sanders. And how much can you pull from Cash App at a time depends upon your limit with them. Usually like 3,000, I think 2,900 or 3,000. But sometimes if you have a more established one, you can do more. Um, okay, and then let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Uh, um, okay. Uh, they don't do business loans and lending. I don't know what that means. But hold on a second. Uh, okay. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in here. Uh, the bank was Bankers Health Group. Yeah. And just want to make sure we answered everybody. And then, and when you're doing this business stuff, okay, the temptation as your business owner, which as soon as you start making money in your business, you probably get it even before you make any money. You're going to get tempted to take these daily and weekly deals. Okay, the merchant cash people, their merchant cash advances is not even actually a loan. It's just cash advance. It's like the payday loan for business owners. Don't do it. Okay, absolutely ban y'all from making that mistake. This is literally, there's only one scenario that makes sense, and that's when, let's say if your credit is jacked up, but you make 50K a month, and you don't have, for some reason, have the money to pay for credit repair and trade lines and everything needed to build your business up. You can take maybe one, but I still would avoid it at all costs. It's better to just get the money together and pay for stuff the right way. Okay, but you don't want to um, take a lot of those like daily pays, because what they do is the merchant cash advances will sound good because they'll give you the money when your credit is jacked up. Okay, they don't care nothing about it. Like you could have a 548 and they'll still give you 40, 50, $60,000, right? But they're charging you not just daily, but the issue is that some of them will charge you a percentage of your revenue that you make for the month or for the day, like usually like 15%. And then sometimes they'll just charge you like $200, $300, $400 a day. But a lot of businesses are not in scenarios where you make money every day. Sometimes you may make money, a lot in the course of 30 days, but not all at
Right.
once, especially for those, out here. So you want to be careful about taking on any type of loan that has payments that are too aggressive. Okay. Because with the merchant cash advance, if you don't pay them, they'll charge you all these extra fees, and then they'll email or mail your clients and try to tell your clients to pay them back instead of paying you. Like they get really wild. Okay, they are not regulated like banks,
Right.
so that's why you have to be very careful with that game. And some people could fall into that trap because they're in desperate needs or desperate situations. But it's definitely dangerous. Okay, and yes, I'm familiar with CDFIs. We definitely work with them. Where do we get our shelf corps from? That's a personal question, bro. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we gotta pray about that first. No, but we have a lot of clients. To be honest with you, the straight answer. So we've helped a lot of people raise money, and a lot of people have businesses that they want to sell and things like that. Um, so yeah, but overall, when it comes to your funding, a lot of people are talking about like the NICS code and things like that in terms of what you put on there. Always feel free to try something different or to have a different plan. So because so many people look at like I want to be business consulting and say consulting all the time or management, which does still work to some degree, but it's better if you have something that's a little different because so many people are doing that now. So as soon as you see it hit social media, you really want to start like shifting over, especially if it's like talked about too much. Okay. Um, so, because a lot of times people put it out there and then it's like everybody's switching over to doing it that way, so you want to be really careful about it. So there's other industries like education that has a good history. You can go into a lot of stuff. Like if you fix garage doors, you know what I mean? Like that's something you could talk about, like those people in that space. But just don't always feel like that. You have to, be um, going with consulting or management. Manufacturing is actually, from my experience, the most funded industry. Like if you say you're a manufacturer, or if you are like anywhere in that space, you can get approved a little bit easier. There's less risk. If you are in like private jet brokering, that's another one that you can also look at as your kind of mix, but you want to have your website to kind of back that up, if that makes sense. So website is important. When you have your website, make sure your domain is old. Okay, don't have a domain name that you just bought today. So you can go on GoDaddy and they will let you bid on domains that have history. So that way that domain's already old. Because sometimes the underwriter will look up your domain name to see, oh, when did they start this business? Oh, I don't know. And then they'll look at your Secretary of State, and then it's like, okay, you got this business you say you had for all this time, but you just bought this domain yesterday. I don't know. And now you're trying to get funding. It just causes them to start doubting.
Mhm.
So that type of stuff, you really want to be careful of and how you're, you know, going through this process. Oh, the trade lines. Yes, the trade lines still work. It's a good way to offset your debt amount. Okay. So if you have a situation that you have high usage, but you're not high enough to get a personal loan, um, but you need to get that done, then you definitely got to stack yourself up with trade lines. We definitely help with that. I'm sure, Umar also knows how to get that done too. But when it comes down to that process, you definitely stack them up with trade lines, but don't be bashful when it comes to spending money on stuff. Like, I don't understand why people come to me and they're like, yeah, I just want to spend like $500 and I'm hoping that if I spend this 500, I'm going to be good and I'll get a line that'll change everything. No, you want to come in and spend some money because when you stack up your credit with the lines, that's going to offset that debt. So let's say we put $200,000 or $100,000 worth of lines on your credit. Now, if you owed, let's say your credit utilization was at 100%, you had a credit card that you maxed out for 30,000. So if we put 200,000 on there, now you're only using the 30,000 out of 230,000 versus 30,000 of 30,000. You see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that when you're going through the process of stacking up your credit report for funding, you want to make sure you have trade lines on your credit. Even those that have good credit, even the people that think they don't need trade lines, they're above trade lines. Here's the thing you got to remember. When you take on a loan, okay, you're going to have new debt. So you want to offset that with lines. Even if you actually just did funding, you can use the trade lines to offset that new debt to keep, because your average age of accounts goes down every time you have a new account added, whether a credit card or a personal loan. So, or a personal credit, line of credit. So if you add the trade lines, that'll help offset that to make sure your history doesn't lose its power, okay, as well as your overall usage. Because the trade lines can allow you to use those credit cards without as much penalty. So if you get, let's say you got 100K in personal credit cards, I'd spend maybe 10,000 on trade lines just so you have an additional $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in lines. So that way, when you use a lot of those credit cards for what you actually need to do, it doesn't hurt your credit as much. Versus if you just go and do it without doing that, now you're in a situation. And now you got to get another personal loan. And now we're back down this route of you paying all these fees. So all this stuff matters in terms of your process. Okay. We need a right place to get shell corps. Yep, you get this message me. We'll talk about that. When you say lines, are you referring to AU or primary AU? Okay. Oh my God. Thank you for asking that. These people are out here selling these primaries, scamming y'all. Okay. I literally would tell anybody to avoid buying primaries unless it's a new one that's reporting as a new one. Like when you go to Self and all those places similar to that, like the Credit Strong, like Tomo Credit, places like that, you can do that. Or Kickoff, Kobo, all those, totally fine. Those are good primaries. But when you actually get the primary lines that people sell, unless you're in their first batch of people, it's very risky because, so you understand from a data furnishing side, the credit bureaus require you to have about 500 accounts to report debt on. So that's 500 per bureau. Equifax sometimes requires a little less, but if you're a regular company, not mortgage, they're going to ask you to put a certain amount of debt on. So when you report to the bureaus, these are all the people that, hey, owed me money and are making payments. You're saying to them, I have an account of all my people. So the next month, if you come with a new group of people that also have been paying you for 5 years, they're going to be like, well, where were these people at last month?
Mark.
Now, let's say if this person's a year into reporting credit history and all of a sudden they're saying that, hey, you have all these people that were making payments to me, but you didn't report it at any point. Why didn't you report it? Why didn't you say nothing? So now, from the credit bureau's perspective, now they want to audit the person that's doing the reporting the lines. And when they do that audit, they can pull their ability to report while you just paid some crazy number for a primary trade line. Okay? Not to mention that they really don't even do much, to say the least. Okay? So you spending all this money on them, and they're not even going to make a big difference. Like, if you add a car to your credit, it's going to help you if it's a paid off car. But if you're, it does help, don't get me wrong. But the risk versus reward of that actually reporting and staying on there, because even if they did post on your credit, how long are they going to stay in business to keep doing that? It's not like they can just keep doing it. They actually have to be really doing business for real to make that work. And a lot of these people are just doing primary lines and telling you, pay me $3, $4, $5, $10,000. Don't even fall for it. Okay. If you have a situation like that, just don't waste money on buying a lot of that because it's very risky. Very few people actually can report lines. But now business, there are some good deals you can get for business primaries. But I'm talking about personal primaries. If they're talking about putting a mortgage on your credit, run away at all costs, okay? Because people be saying that. And then where's the house, bro? Like, where's the house at? You ain't got no house at all on your credit report. You still report that you renting, but you got like your address is showing that you live in an apartment, but you got a primary for $3 million on your credit report. And they're
Mm.
like, what's going on?
Or
You know what I mean? And yeah, and those people that offer those a lot of times will get you caught up in a situation. So I've seen some stuff happen. So that's what I'm saying. Just to avoid a lot of these like scams, because our industry has such a bad reputation that in certain spaces, because people are doing like a lot of people like can learn how to do credit repair, right? But they turn it, they basically make it a hustle, and because they're good at that hustle, it's like they don't care about sometimes the ethics that come with it and the repercussions. And don't get me wrong, we all have some client, whether it be Umar or myself, that can be happy. There's some client can be mad for various reasons. But our commitment is we don't stop until we get you the result, regardless. Whether
or
you're happy or mad, I can get on the phone with the maddest person and the happiest
or
person, and we're going to figure this thing out. You know what I mean? I'm not running. I don't change my number. None of that. No one's blocked. But like, my post social media is public. Anyone can say anything on there. So if I'm out here wilding out doing all types of wildness, they can say that. And there's not one limit. I don't even know how to limit posts on social media. So I'm not even on here like that because I'm actually going to work behind the scenes to get these people money. So that's just the reality behind it. But yeah, man, I just wanted to share some light on that. There's so much more we can get into in terms of the types of deals you can structure, but that's something we all can talk about more. But I just wanted to, share some things. Anybody else have any other questions? And I know I talk fast, so I'm
no, you did
sorry,
good,
y'all.
bro. And y'all remember the recording's gonna be up too, so y'all can just come back and watch it as well. Well, you know what? We coming up on the hour, Ashton. So if they drop one more, we can take one more question, and then we'll
Okay, one more question and we're out. You got 10 seconds. All right, y'all took too long.
All right.
Okay.
Ashton, I appreciate you,
All
bro.
right,
Y'all reach out to
man.
Ashton right now. Tell him the Bureau Bully sent you. For people who are clients for us, y'all know this is the guy I send y'all to when it's time for y'all to get funding. And but y'all keep in mind. Oh, Ashton, you got a question.
Okay. Do you have a mentorship? I'd like to add these services. Yeah, we can talk about that. Are 500 credit cards bad for funding? What do you mean by 500 credit cards? Can you explain
I
that, maybe?
think he meant credit score.
Oh, credit score. Yeah, definitely not good for funding. Unless you make a lot of money, like a lot meaning 30K and higher a month, I wouldn't recommend doing anything else. I would work on just getting your credit right, which, Umar can help you with that. Um,
Well, Ashton does too. So y'all
yeah,
don't think it's just
yeah. Either way, we could do that. Do you help with velocity banking? Honestly, I'm gonna have to look into that. You caught me. I'm not very familiar with velocity banking, but I'll have to look more into it, and I can answer that question. Okay. All right. And then, yeah, I think we'll be good to go. So, yeah, if anybody else has a question, you let me know. I will definitely, and I'm gonna, make sure Umar gets all credit. Thank you again for
no.
being
Oh,
the great one.
likewise, bro. Likewise,
Okay.
bro. Likewise. All right, I
Yeah, man.
appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night,
You
man.
as
Let me
well,
know
my
if
brother.
anything else comes in.
Hit me, Ashton, because I'll be in Houston soon.
Oh, bro, pull up, bro. I
All
already
right.
got a place for you. The bed's already set up, bro. You ain't gotta even find a place here if you need it.
Say
It's
less,
already ready,
bro.
bro. We in the gated community. You're gonna be safe, and nobody gonna touch you, bother you. You can be here safe, bro. You
Say
good,
less,
bro.
bro.
All
I
right,
appreciate
bro. Be
you, my
safe.
brother.
All right.
Peace. All right, y'all. So that is day 5. I'm about to get on here. Y'all come back tomorrow for day 6. All right. How'd y'all like that one? Everybody go follow Ashton right now. By now, nobody should have any excuses. We are 5 days in, and I still haven't even went yet. Right? We had people come on here and just, one of my rules was I only want to bring people on who would come and drop free game. Their intention wasn't to sell a course; they're just gonna give you out a game. So if y'all look at all the last few people that came on, they did nothing but came on here and dropped game. Ashton just gave y'all a step by step on how to go get funding, right? And he didn't give any fluff. He gave game. Like, hey, this is gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Don't use primary trade lines. Do this with your tax returns, step by step. This is somebody who's done business with multi-million-dollar companies, and they help them get funding. So you might want to listen to this person. If you look at his social media, he's rarely on there. He's rarely selling anything. That was one of the biggest things that attracted me to him, other than the fact that I realized he was really genuine about what he was doing, just a genuine person in general. But I'm gonna get off of here. Um, no, Miss Ming and Lee, if you're looking to add that to your company, DM me. The bundle wouldn't do that. The bundles are people who wanna who have personal issues they're gonna handle themselves. Man, what is Ashton's IG? Ashton, you still on here? Dang it. I don't want to say Ashton's IG wrong. If y'all have Ashton's IG, drop her in the chat real quick for Stephanie so she can have it. But I'm about to get off of here, y'all. I gotta get back to work. Um, we got a few more settlements coming, so we're working on those and putting some other things together. And I just had a debt collector pop up on my report. It just came back as verified through experience, so I'm actually showing y'all step by step how I'm about to handle this. It's for a damn insurance company at that. All right, that's Ashton's Instagram. Y'all follow Ashton. Hit him up. Tell him the Bureau Bully sent you. Peace and love to you all. I love you all, and I love myself.